In last lecture, we have studied decision making statements that were if else and if else if statements. So, in today's lecture, we are going to study that is a user defined functions in JavaScript. Now, before moving towards user defined function, we have studied some built-in functions in JavaScript. Now, what is a difference between these built-in functions and user defined functions? Let's see what were the built-in functions in JavaScript. Okay, see here. These functions commonly used built-in functions in JavaScript. So we have learned these functions, why we are using this parse int, parse float, alert function, prompt function, confirm, to uppercase, to lowercase, enn. All these are of functions that are provided to us by a JavaScript, and we are using those functions. So they are known as a built-in functions. And now we are going to study user-defined functions. So first, let's see what is meant by a function. A function is a function in any scripting and programming languages is a small part of a program that we require again and again. It means that whatever part we are defining in a function, we can use that part again and again instead of writing code for that particular task again and again. Like see here, in built-in functions, for example, let's take one function, that is okay, parse int. Now in this parse int function, what does this function do? It converts a string into an integer. So whatever logic we are going to require to convert a string into an integer is already defined by the JavaScript, and they have stored that logic in a parse int function. It means that whenever we want to convert a string into an integer, we don't have to repeat that part of a program again and again. We just call parse int function and that function will be applied. So that is nothing use of a function. Whenever we create or we write some part of a program in a function, we don't have to write that part again and again. We can just call a function name whenever we want to perform that task. Now what is the difference between user defined functions and built-in functions? Built-in functions are those functions which are provided by JavaScript to us. We do not create that functions on our own. Okay, like parse int, we don't know what is the logic behind the parse int function or how it converts the string into an integer, or parse float, alert function, confirm function. All this whatever logic is required for this function is already defined by a JavaScript, and they are providing that functions to us, and we are just using that functions. Means those functions are provided ready made for us. So such functions which are provided already by the programming language are known as a built-in functions. Now, and next is a user defined function. User defined function means we can create a function of our own. Okay, so they are known as a user defined function. See, a function is a subprogram designed to, it helps to make program smaller. A function is a subprogram designed to perform a particular task. Functions can be either called by an event or given call to that function. Okay, so that is a user defined function. User defined functions means we can create the function of our own. Okay, see, this is a syntax to create a function. We have to use function keyword, then function name. We can give any function name, and this is optional part whether we have to pass argument, number of arguments. Okay, we will see this. First, let's see a simple program to create a function. Okay, now where can we create a function? Before starting the concept of a JavaScript, we have seen that the script tag can be placed in the two sections. Okay, let's see in the starting. Okay, see here, they have mentioned here script tag can be placed in the body section or in head section or in both of the tags. So when we are going to use a script tag in a heading section and when we are going to use the script tag in a body section, let's see that whenever we want to define a function, we can define that function in a script tag, and that script tag can be placed within the head section. Okay, see here, this script tag I have placed in the heading section, and next whenever I want to call that function, I can call that function in the body part. So for that I have to define the script tag in a body part. I can use multiple numbers of script tag in a single program. So here in this head section I will create a function. function. Let's give any name to a function name, like message. Okay, and opening closing brackets are compulsory. Whenever we are creating a function, we should compulsory include a opening closing bracket. Okay, and now in this function I will just write a simple statement, document dot write, and in double quote I will write some message. This is user defined function. Okay, and I will end this with a semicolon. Now this is a function I have created. I have created a function message, and within that function I have included a statement, document.write. This is a user defined function. Now what happens, when will this statement executed, or what is the use of this function? See, whenever I want to execute the statement within this function, all I have to do is just call that function by its name. Now what is the name of this function? See, I have defined a function and I have written here a function name. So name of this function which I have created is a message. So whenever I want to execute the statements within the function, I am going to call that function just by passing its name. So I will pass here message opening closing bracket. Opening closing bracket means it is a function. Okay, and function name as it is I have written here. Now let's save this program and let's see what output we'll get. Functions. Okay, see here, output is, this is user defined functions. This statement I have defined in our function. So why am I getting this output? Because I have called this function name in our body section. Now see, I can call this function multiple times if I want this message to be printed number of times. Like normally what do we do? If I want to type this message, this is user defined function, like 5 times I want to display this message, then what do we do normally? I will write this document.write statement, I will write 5 times. Okay, so I can get this output. This is user defined function, I can get this statement 5 times. So now we don't have to write this statement again and again because we have defined it only once in a function. Now if I want to display this statement 5 times, so all I'm going to do is I only call this function 5 times. Okay, so first 1 2 3 4 and 5. So I have called this function 5 times. Means what happened? This statement will be executed 5 times. Okay, now let's see output. See, okay, let's take this in next line. After every sentence we want next statement in a next line. So I will use here br tag. Okay, and save. See here, what happens? I have called function name 5 times. See, message, 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 and message. I have called this function 5 times. So what happens? The statement which I have written in a function is executed 5 times. So I am getting this output. This is user defined function. I am getting this statement 5 times in my output screen. So what happens? First time whenever I am calling this function, this statement will be executed and I will get this line. Okay, next time again I am calling this function, again this statement will be executed and I will get second time. In this way I can display the same statement multiple times in a same program. Okay, see here, how much time I will call a function, that times this line will be executed. So that is the advantage of a function, so that I don't have to write this long statement again and again. I don't have to type this statement again and again. All I'm doing is just calling the function name whenever I want to execute this statement. So that's why they had said that function reduces the program. It means we whatever part we are going to require again and again, we only define that part once in a function, and then whenever we need that program or whenever we need that small part, we just call a function name. See here, it helps to make the program smaller. A function is a sub program designed to perform a particular task. Okay, and a function is a function in programming language is small part of a program that we require again and again. Same we have done here. I want to print this statement this is user defined function. I want to print this 10 times. So what I'm doing, I'm not typing this whole statement 10 times, but instead of that I'm only writing this statement once in a function, and I'm calling that function name 10 times. So I'm getting the output 10 times. So that is an advantage of a function. Now next concept is, see here, there are two arguments that are passed, not two, but we can pass any number of values while creating a function. What is the use of these values that we are going to pass in this function? Let's see with an example. Okay, I will create one more function. Let's see a function for addition of two numbers. Now addition of two numbers, I am creating a function add, and at the time of a function creation I will pass two values in that function. Let's say a comma b. Okay, so while creating a function I have passed here two values, and now let's perform the addition of these two values. Now we have seen, for to addition of two numbers we require three variables, that is a comma b comma c. Okay, what, two variables to store the number, and third variable will be to store the result of those number. Now I will just add these values. C is equal to a plus b, and in output I will display document dot write, and I have to display addition. So I will pass a message addition is, okay, and I will show here the value of a C. That's it. Now in this section, in body section, what I'm going to do is I want to execute this function. So see, I will just call the function and opening closing bracket. Now in last program, okay, I will just create the last program, same one more function, message. It is the same program which we have, the last document dot write, and just will pass a string hello and function close. Okay, now see, whenever I have created, when I'm creating this function message, okay, whenever I'm creating this function there are no values I have passed in this bracket. While creating a function, this bracket is a empty bracket, which means that whenever I will call this message function, it means that I don't have to pass any value when I'm calling this function. But in case of add, what happens, I cannot keep this bracket empty. Why? Because whenever I am creating the function add, I have passed two values to that function. It means whenever I will call this function, I have to compulsory pass two values in that function. Okay, so while creating this function I have created here two values, a comma b, which means that I have to pass here two values. Let's say any number we have to pass, because we have to perform the addition. So I have passed here 5 and 8. Okay, now we'll save this program and let's see the output. Okay, see here, first let's take next line, plus dr, and save. Okay, now see here, this is the addition of our this is the output of our first program, first function, that is addition, and hello is the output of a message function which I have called here. Now what happens here, see, whenever I am calling this add function, I have passed here two values 5 and 8. So what happens in this, while creating this function I have passed here two values. So when I call this function, I am passing two values to that function, 5 and 8, which means this 5 will be assigned to the value a and 8 will be assigned to the value b. Okay, and then addition of those two numbers will be executed. So a is equal to 5 and b is equal to 8. So here we are getting c is equal to 5 plus 8, and that's why we are getting here output as a 13. And in case of a message, whenever I am creating a message, no values are passed in this function, which means when I will call this function, there is no need to pass any values. If I am passing here any values, let's see what output we will get. Okay, see, nothing. because this function does not expect any values. Now if I am keeping this function empty, okay, then let's see what is the output. Addition is nan, means there is no number in that function. Why? And this function is about a addition, means we are expecting the output or addition of a two numbers in the output, but we are not getting any addition of a number here. Why? Because whenever I am calling this function, there are no values passed in this function, but this function is expecting two values, because whenever we are creating this function, we have passed two values in that function's bracket, which means whenever we will call this function, we compulsory have to pass two values. Okay, now once I have defined this code for the addition, now I can use this function number of times to perform the addition of different numbers. So I don't have to again and again create the code or create the logic for the addition. Now I can pass any different numbers like 4, 8. Again I will call function name and just pass different values. Okay, add 6 comma 2. Okay, now let's see what output we will get. Okay, see here I have passed four different values and I have got the addition of those four different numbers. If I'm not creating this function and I have to perform the addition of this four pair of a number, then then I have to write this addition code each and every time for every numbers. Means first I have to assign the values for these two values, then display their addition. Again I have to take new variables and display these two number addition. Again I have to take another two variables, display these two addition of these two numbers, and again define another variables and display the addition of these two. So what happened? I'm using this same code. Okay, the whatever logic we are going to require for addition of two numbers, I have defined that only once in a function, and whenever I am going to require this code, I have just called that function name, and whatever numbers addition we have to perform, we have passed those number in the functions. Okay, now see, whenever we are creating or passing the values in this function, same number of values should be passed in this function. Okay, because see, whenever I am creating this add function, I have passed here two arguments or two values, which means I have to compulsory pass here two values, no more than 3 or less than 3. Let's see, if I am passing only one value in this first function, then what is the output? See, I am getting here nan, which means I am getting no output for this function because this function is expecting two values. Okay, so whatever number of values we are creating or we are passing while creating a function, same number of values should be passed whenever the function is called. So now let's see, if while creating this function I will create here three values a, b and d, means I have to perform the addition of three values. Okay, so a plus b plus d, and now I have while creating the function I have passed three values, which means whenever I will call this function, I have to pass here three values, not less than 3 or not more than 3, compulsory three values. So I will pass here three values and let's see if we are getting output. Yes, we are getting the output. So I cannot keep any one value or only two values, so I will not get output for these last two functions. See, nan. Why we are getting nan? Because this function is expecting three values, but we have passed here only two and only one. We have to compulsory pass the same number of arguments or same number of values that we have created whenever we are defining a function. So that is a use of arguments. Arguments are used whenever we want to pass the values at a time of a function call. Now let's see one more example. Suppose at a time of I want to display the name and roll number of a student. Okay, I will give a function name as a student and I will pass here two values. Name, this will be two variables, name and number. Okay, now let's see, I will just to pass a message, document dot write name is, okay, which the value name value will be stored in the name variable, and after that I have to display the roll number. So I will pass roll number is, and this value is stored in a no, and we will use a br tag, br and semicolon. Okay, now whenever I will call this function, I am calling this function student, and now see, whenever I am creating this function I have passed here two arguments, which means when I will call this function I have to pass here two values. Now the data type of that values can be anything. It can name is a, we have to pass the name, so it will be data type will be string, and next is a number, so data type of that will be integer. So whenever we are passing a string, we compulsory have to place that value in a double quote. So we will pass a name Ria, and second value is a no, means we have to just pass a number. So no, there is no need for no need of a double quote whenever we are passing a number. So number can be just placed as it is, but whenever we are passing any string or a character, keep in mind that we have to place that value within a double quote, and numbers can be placed as it is. Now I will save this and run this program. See here, what is output? Name is Ria, roll number is 1. So what happened here? When I have called this function student, I have passed two values, Ria and 1. So name is assigned value as a Ria, and number no is assigned value as a 1. So that's why in a document.write I am getting output name is Ria and roll number is 1. So now I can pass multiple number or multiple values and names in the same function, and I can get different output. Okay, now I will call the same function and change the values. Name Raj, then again I will call this function and Pooja. Okay, I will save this and let's see. Okay, see here, there are three different values we have passed. We have called this function three times and we have passed three different values in that function. So what is output? First, name is Ria, roll number is 1, name is Raj, roll number is 2, name is Pooja, roll number is 3. So each time these values are assigned to these two variables. So what does this mean? I don't have to define this statement again and again whenever I am calling this, or whenever I want to show the output in this way. I'm just writing that statement only once in a function, and whatever values, how much number of values we want to show in the output, I have defined that much number of arguments in a string. So that is a use of arguments. Okay, so that is how we can create a user defined function in JavaScript. Okay, and argument one, whether we have to pass a number of argument or not, that is optional. So if a function has an empty bracket, it means that whenever we are going to call a function, there is no need to pass any value to that function. And if we are passing any number of arguments within a function, it means that same number of values should be passed at a time of a function call. So that is how we are going to use user defined functions in a JavaScript. So in next lecture we will see more examples about user defined functions, and we'll continue our next point.